Okay, next on our agenda is Civic Plus. I'd like to thank the Civic Plus for joining us this evening, and excuse me, fellas. I want to thank Betsy Yagla and Karen Crosby and Cindy Pekka, who have been working for many months to review our website and see about updating it. And we have a website that's we've had for quite a while. It's outdated and doesn't have the functionality that we would hope. So I'm sorry, I don't know your name. Justin.
Oh, yes.
Justin. Betsy and Karen and Cindy have recommended Civic Plus. We did an RFP, and this is the company that they're recommending to us. We have a presentation this evening, and we've also provided to the board members the backup documentation. I know that only went out today. If you feel you haven't had time to review it, we can delay the vote, but you may be satisfied this evening. Okay?
Sure.
Well, before you begin, let's just wait a minute for Joe and Susan to come back. We'll just give them a minute, and then we'll start. Are they chatting out there, or?
No, I think
they're. Okay.
Facilities.
Oh, okay. Well, then give them a minute. Give them.
I think. Euphemism. Now Jerry's out.
Where have you come from, Justin?
From Manhattan.
Oh, from Manhattan.
All right.
Kansas.
Oh, Manhattan. Oh, my. So you're not going back tonight?
Not going back tonight.
Okay,
No.
good. Well, thank you for your patience this evening. We're looking forward to this.
No, thank you for inviting me out. I really appreciate it.
Now they're chatting.
Oh, want me to go get him?
Well, here's Susan.
She's coming.
Okay. What do you say, Tom? Go ahead.
Nope, yep, nope. Oh, wow, he's close.
Okay.
I think I'm going back to.
Yeah, I'm gonna go back there too. I'm just gonna go over there so I can see better.
Yeah. You just let me know when you're ready.
probably in your way anyway.
Okay, thank you. Again, I'm Justin Forte with Civic Plus, and the town of Woodbridge put out an RFP looking for some key benefits in a new website. So high level, I'm going to condense the RFP into just a few bullet points. Woodbridge was looking for a new, fresh design, a web platform that would both improve the residents' experience and something that was practical and efficient for community engagement, something easy to manage, so a system that's easy to manage because having an easy system ensures that it gets updated. The room to grow, so a content management system that allows them to add additional services as the residents desire those. And a partner with extensive government experience. Civic Plus has been in this space focusing solely on municipal government for the better part of 2 decades with over 2,100 municipalities that we're partnering with today.
That was probably the first municipal websites.
It really was.
They were called smoke signals, right?
Yeah, very, very true. So one of the big pieces was the mobile experience. Right now, Woodbridge's site's not mobile friendly. They wanted something that would engage residents regardless of how they come to the site. And as you can see, it's one connected communication strategy. This is actually Madison, Connecticut's website. And you can see how you get the same experience whether you come to their site from a laptop, a tablet, or from a mobile phone. Here's some statistics on how mobile is growing and why it's important. 1 billion units in smartphones and tablets. The growth is 8.5 times as fast as PCs. 40% of smartphone users look up government services and information. And even as almost 5 years ago, there were more mobile devices than PCs in the United States. 64%. As far as our partnership, again, this speaks to some of the folks we partner with around the country. Pretty impactful. There's our beautiful headquarters in downtown Manhattan. And the software that you're getting for the town is not static. It's not a system you buy and it sits there. And this software is being updated. It's constantly growing. As citizens' needs grow, we find more and more solutions. So we're continually reinvesting right back into these products and services for the town and the residents to benefit from. We're talking about hacking and some of the concerns over security. We host and we are in charge of all the security with the new site. There's a lot of hacktivism going on with government today. And one of the things you'll notice is that we always follow best practices and we're always studying those practices. This is an example of a mega menu where you simply hover over the different titles and it brings down a drop-down menu. So again, we're trying to reduce the number of clicks for a resident to find information. You notice the I want to on the far right? That finds a lot of the things that people typically go to the website. Excuse me, go to the website to find. So maybe I want to apply for a job, make an online payment. Also, the site is completely custom. So we work with you. This isn't a template. This is something we build from the ground up. And that piece of it's fun for our designers. They like to get pushed. And with that, the designs that we come up with are very visually engaging, and we keep designing until you're happy. So if you're not happy with the design, if the town's not happy, we keep working on it. And then finally, the ability to tell a story. Give a people, you've got about 9,500, 9,600 residents, but the rest of the world, this is their image of Woodbridge, Connecticut. So this gives them the ability to look at your community. The days of folks driving across, well, this is Shelburne, Vermont side. But the days of developers driving cross country to visit communities at first are gone. The first thing they do is they go out to the web and they do research. We again offer 50 plus applications. Your town may only use 5, but they're available. So as the needs of the community grow, they can implement more pieces, and it's included with this offering. Online forms are simple for staff to create. No more printing out PDFs and signing them. And this allows people, I could be at my son's basketball game. He rides the Pine a lot. So I could be filling out a form on my phone and taking care of those sorts of business. And these forms resize to the size of the device. So it's very functional and usable on a mobile device as well as on a PC. We have a predictive search feature. So it's hard to see on the screen, but a resident types in fireworks and it brings up all the information on fireworks just within the city site. This does not go out to the World Wide Web. It stays within the confines of the city or town's website. The interactive community calendar, which allows residents to pick and choose the calendars they want to view. Maybe they want to know when the council's meeting, or they want to know what community events are going on this weekend. They can pick and choose and actually get notifications via text or email when there's news updates or when the calendars are updated. We were talking about the forms earlier. And this was a study by the Gartner Group and the Yankee Group that talks about what it costs when a resident walks in, or when someone walks into your facility to take care of them, or if they call. You can see it ranges from $4.50 to $9 per transaction, whereas if they can help themselves through the website, that cost goes down to between 24 and 65 cents a transaction. We also included, after every 4th year, a site redesign. This is an example of Pasco, Washington, one of our clients that after 4 years, trends changed. And our clients want to be ahead of technology, or at least future-proof. So as you can see, that's a great site. We built them 5 years ago on the left. And then on the right, you can see what their site looks like today. It's much more streamlined, much more clean and efficient, and easier to find information. That's all I have, folks.
This is all free?
Well, you know what? I feel better following the $650,000 figures. Doesn't.
We do too.
Thank you.
Do you have an example of a site that we can see and how it moves and, yeah, that would be cool.
He's going, yes.
So here's Woodbridge's site. And again, if you don't like the aesthetics, our clients pick them. So different folks like different pieces of the site. This one I like, but let's Google.
Speed is not your problem.
I can send you those links.
Oh! So
But
I'm
you-
driving around and you're just gonna say, I'm gonna send you the link. No,
You
I
can
want
you
to
can
see
actually
it.
go to your mobile phone
Yeah,
and you can pull up Woodbridge's site. You can Google it and look at that, see that experience, and then put in Madison, Connecticut, or and
Is this how
Enfield,
slow
Connecticut,
is
okay.
or any of
I
those,
don't know why
and
it's so slow.
You'll see
you'll
the
get
difference.
and it's fully functional. So you're not sacrificing
You can
any
go back and
functionality when you go to the mobile
Right, when we
experience.
go to our site, there's a drop-down area where you can go and say, see full site, rather than the mobile site, but it's still not fully functional with.
Right. I don't think.
So I think we're probably not going to see
No,
anything
probably
else.
not.
Okay, so
Or reload it.
can we turn on
Is
the
the town
lights?
able to upload videos on that?
Yes, there's a media center that they would be able to purchase.
Oh, there you go.
Or they can link YouTube videos.
Because of the lights
right to it.
behind
And
you.
in fact, the meeting, for instance, if they wanted to be loaded next to the agenda, they could.
You're on.
You're all set.
Oh! Oh, good, they came up first.
That's good.
There it goes.
I don't know if anybody else has looked at Madison in the past, but this is quite a transformation from their old website.
You know, if I may, I can give you an idea of what it looked like before, and then you can see what.
Well, let's see.
Well, while you're here, why don't we see?
Let's see this now.
Yeah, we're barely hanging onto a Wi-Fi signal, it looks like, in the corner there. We've got one bar.
Very clean.
Now, on the mega menus we were talking about earlier, how I'm not clicking on anything, I'm merely hovering over. How do I find, apply for, sign up for, submit? And you also see the various.
So on their site, their search engine is similar to what you were discussing with us, whereas if someone put in the word fireworks only contained to within that website, anything about fireworks would pop up, but not outside of the town site.
Correct. So if you put in water or plumbing, it's not going to bring in Google ads and things of that nature. So that's one example. This is
Do you ever have photographs that rotate?
Yes. All right,
Oh.
Google. Yeah, yes. So for instance, this one this one has the photographs that are like in a slideshow. We also have banners that rotate where they can click on them. And again, this is simple. This isn't designed for IT professionals. This is designed for, you know, everyday folks that are used to working with the Microsoft Office product. And it's very engaging on the back end as well.
You mentioned people can fill out forms. Can they submit them as well?
Oh, absolutely.
After you filled it out, off you go.
And
That's-
presumably submit payments as well. So if I want to pay my taxes
Oh,
online,
interesting, yeah.
I can pay my taxes online.
Well,
I would.
We would
That's
have,
up to us.
yeah.
I know,
set
I
that up,
realize it's up
yes.
to us, but it can be designed to do that.
To link into that.
Yeah.
Wow,
Yes.
yeah,
I like coming in with my check. I'm not saying I'm going to do it, but it can be designed to do that.
right.
Right, forms, all those pieces, and again, submitted from anything that touches the internet.
Is there a help place? Is that where the how do I comes into?
Oh, yeah.
In other words, if you're
sitting.
sitting there in the middle of something and all of a sudden, poof, you need help because you're halfway through and
Oh, it's, yes, so.
there's a not necessarily human that you can contact, but a help place to go to on this website.
Well,
You know,
Tax payments.
yes, and then there's also, when you are filling out a form, depending on how massive the form is, I showed some examples of permitting forms and things of that nature, you can actually save your progress. So you'll have a login. This keeps cranks from just submitting stuff and throwing it over the fence.
Yeah.
They can log in and simply fill out the information, and again, you control that.
uh-huh.
Tax
So
payments.
it would be helpful, you've mentioned a couple of towns, maybe you can give us a list, or Betsy can, and we can take a look at the websites that you think
Oh, sure.
were sort of comparable towns or different ideas for us.
Absolutely. Yeah, do you want that list? I can name a few right off the top.
Sure.
There's Ellington, Connecticut. They actually did 5 sites with us. Enfield, Connecticut, because they did individual sites for different departments. Norwich, Norwalk, Coventry. See, I got it right.
Madison.
Madison, Clinton, Connecticut. Yeah, there's
I'm not going to
no
more
less
than
than
that.
14 that are live.
14 in Connecticut.
Right.
Well, some of these
Plus
are
some
smaller.
development.
Yeah,
Maybe we could look at some outside Connecticut and see how other states
Oh,
are
yeah.
thinking
show
about it.
words.
So you said something
Yeah.
a little magical a second ago. One of the issues that's involved in the website for the town is our economic development has kind of a website within our website. It's still within our website. And as talked about over the last few years, either getting their own or doing something so they can be a little more, flexible and a little more. You just said Ellington did separate sites for each department
Well, not for.
or for some departments?
Yes.
Is that much more costly, or is that just something where you separated I hate to say separated the baby, but
We actually provide a discount. Those are called sub-sites, even though they're completely custom standalone sites with those. So yeah, it's less expensive to have a standalone site than it is to develop and not have a relationship at the beginning. Yeah, they did youth services, senior services, the library, and parks and rec, in addition to the town.
So what's the advantage of that versus just having?
Sure.
You're done.
Absolutely. So you'll notice the buttons on this particular site are really geared toward the town. But let me give you an example, if it'll. All right, stop watching me type.
Yes.
So just for the board members, this Wi-Fi situation was the item that we had in the budget but took out in our effort to take out things that weren't essential. And now we're
This was
seeing,
one of
now we're seeing
them.
the results.
This is one of them.
Yep.
Yeah. Essential just changed its
Became-
definition.
Yeah.
Yeah, so as you can see, the banners, everything is specific to the police department. The divisions, the services, the programs they offer, the I want to,
So you don't get lost in the shuffle of the bigger site,
yeah.
a little more easy and friendly.
But could you have that same look and functionality
On one
within the site? Just, you could do it, right?
Yeah, there's different department packages we offer
Right, so
where
you go to the
we
police
can theme
department,
it.
and then you could have that same functionality and look, can't you?
Yes, there's additional development costs, but it is much more cost effective than
On
I
a
should say-
separate site.
Then a separate
sites,
site.
yeah.
So the only thing you don't have is your own name, your own domain, someplace to go to.
Technically, we can
You
point
even do that.
the URL back
Like a
into that
link, right?
department, but what you would have is a governance at a high level, and then the police department would be given permissions to just their part of the site, but you would have somebody with permissions to everything in that scenario. Does that, I hope I'm not making people's eyes glass over.
No, I think
No, I
yours
can
is much
understand
more
it.
user-friendly. The current user that we have is, it's hard for like the individual department like economic development to use. There's not a lot of functions that are available.
For
They're
itself.
limited on what they can do. And I think yours offers more endless limitations than they.
And I can send over a lot of examples of economic development as well.
Great.
I think there are other limitations that Betsy has faced in trying to post things. You might want to describe a few, Betsy.
Yeah, I can just generally speaking, the back end of the website that we have right now is not intuitive. And so I use it nearly every day. Karen uses it nearly every day, but there are some departments who use it once a month, or do certain things on the website infrequently, and every time they do it, they feel like they're doing it for the first time because it's just not intuitive. And when Justin came in and gave us a tour of their back end of their website, it was very clear, so it would be much more easy for staff. And it's easy for residents to use as well, but it'll be so much easier for us to use the website and make it more updated and more engaging and more interesting for residents and save a lot of time.
Yeah, for example, just this week, I had to help people who infrequently update the website.
Yeah.
I went to the center building and I went back out to facilities to help people because they don't use it all that often. And to look at it, you don't know what to do. You don't know how to update it. This is
Our website now has a place for employees to log on,
Intranet, yeah.
and that will be part of this as well at some point?
An
or-
intranet?
Intranet?
Yes, that
Sorry.
was part of the scope.
Okay.
Yeah, great question, and I'm
Okay.
sorry I didn't cover that.
No, that's
That was-
okay, I just was curious.
And another piece that I didn't include in this presentation that's pretty valuable is we're gonna come out and do on-site consulting at the front end of the project, where we meet with the departments, we understand a day in the life, and we shape the tools to work better for them and better for the folks that they're serving. And then also on-site training, which will also really help, because sometimes remote training just doesn't have the same feel than when you're
Sure.
eye to eye with folks.
Right, exactly. There's nothing better than hands-on, for sure. Right.
I think in addition to the back-end limitations, I know there have been times I've asked Betsy, things on the website are confusing or something that we think people should see and we just can't do it. I can't think of examples right now,
A
but
great example is all the country club information. You know, we've been making a lot of effort to get out the facts to the public, and we spend a lot of time creating presentations for you all and other boards and commissions. And then I put them on the website, and I get people asking me, well, where is it? I didn't see it. And I say, well, click here, click here, click here, do the hokey pokey, and then you'll find it. Because you do have to click on like
That's the
10
problem.
things.
I forgot to do the hokey pokey.
You forgot to turn yourself around.
But
Now I know.
with these drop-down menus, there's no clicking. You hover over a menu, and you can see what's there. So you're
Right.
not getting lost and
Right.
turning around. It's you see where you want to go, because as something you had pointed out in one of our meetings, our website is organized at the top. There are buttons. One is departments, one's government, and then we have recreation and business. well, not everybody understands which department does what work. So if you want to look up information about your property, maybe you don't know. Do you go to the assessor? Do you go to the tax office? Where do you go? With a drop-down menu like this, you're not getting confused, and it would be a lot easier because people are searching for the thing they want to do, not who does the thing they want to do.
Right.
And one other point, that the scenario you brought up is great. We support all the end users as well. So no more having to necessarily bottleneck your day. You've got a lot on your plate as it is. They can contact us. You saw our office. They're located in there. And since we last visited, we have added a chat feature where while they're doing something, they can chat live with one of our representatives. So.
Here's Manhattan, Kansas.
And this is all for free, like you said, right?
So I will comment on that.
Okay, go ahead.
And it's in your spreadsheet here. The one-time cost is $12,982, which we have the option of spreading out over 4 years. And the ongoing cost is $3,109 after the first year. So if you do the math and spread out the costs, the combination of the two is actually less than what we have in our budget for our current vendor. So there's actually a savings to the town, and there's no financial implications to our budget. So.
I make a motion that we approve the bid to Civic Plus.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any other questions or discussion? Well, if not, all those in favor?
Aye. Thank you very much.
Very impressive.
Very
Thank you.
helpful.
Thank you, Jason.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Karen and Betsy.
Yeah,
and
thank you
Cindy.
for all your
That was-
work.
I know that was many, many hours of work to do this. Thank you.
Clearly needed.
I'm very excited about it.
Yeah. We're now at Tony's report, starting with the monthly
Oh, that's a
report.
good question.
When is this happening?
So what's our
sorry.
target date? July 1, is it, you think? Or maybe a little
When you
earlier?
guys said thank you, I want to know, when are you getting this?
He's still out there.
If we can do it for July 1st, I think
Okay.
that's a conversation.
That's our
we're
sort of
on.
our goal.
He's still here.
Justin? One other question came up. What's the time frame typically to roll out a project?
I typically say 6 months, but when there's upfront consulting, we see that shrink to about 4 months.
Okay.
And that consulting really
April,
helps.
May, June, July. Boom.
Right.
I'm redoing my office website
Yeah.
right now on a much smaller scale, and I'm just here to tell you, it takes longer than you think it's gonna take, right? Because it's very intense, yeah.
Before you go, I just have to say this, because I don't get an opportunity to go up and say this. You're not in Kansas City.
Thank you. It's better for my friends in Dodge City.
Boom.
Do you think people call him Toto?
Tony, is there any requirements about terminating the other contract? Do we have a time notice?
Nothing we're of, no.
Okay, so we'll take a look at that.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're at item 8, and that is the report of our administrative officer and finance.
Thank you. So I have a report through February of 2016. The surplus, budgetary surplus is approximately approaching $275,000 for the year. That will leave our fund balance at 9.7% for the year. Some highlights for you. We've discussed previously our deficit in intergovernmental revenues is a little under $10,000, which is a FEMA award of $70,000 offset by state cuts totaling $89,000. So intergovernmentals are holding. Department revenues are expected to generate a surplus of about $32,000. We do have surpluses anticipated in conveyance taxes and building permits. Of $40,000 in conveyance tax surplus and $55,000 in building permit surplus. Those are offset by deficits at the pool, which we've discussed. That'll be about $40,000 for the fiscal year. And the SRO funding is $27,000 deficit for that. And finally, for revenues, the $75,000 in increased private duty revenues is another item that we discussed previously. In expenditures, we have a surplus of $30,000, largely due to our savings in liability, auto, and property insurance, which we did well when we went out to bid that last year. We have a surplus of about $8,000, largely due to utilities in the center building. The Parks Department is projecting a surplus of about $10,000. That's due to a vacant position that we did not fill right away. Pool and gym as a surplus of $13,500. As we mentioned in the budget process, the school pool is now using the boilers at Beecher, so there's no oil required for the pool to heat. It uses the heat loop of the school and heats the water that way. So as a result, the pool and gym does not have to buy oil to heat the pool. Debt service is a savings of $12,684. That was due to a refunding. Waste management surplus is about $40,000. That's largely due to tip fees that were reduced, as well as bulky waste and recycling. Those were reduced for the current budget to reflect that. Benefits is projected to experience a surplus of at least $25,000. I'm hoping more, and that's primarily due to healthcare savings and vacant positions that we have currently. And finally, the Woodbridge Board of Ed deficit was $222,000 as of January 31st. And basically the use of Amity surplus funds is anticipated to cover that deficit. And so those are the highlights for the month.
Thank you. Any questions, Tony? Okay, the next item is funding requests, and we have one funding request.
Oh, right.
Right?
Yep.
I will move acceptance of funding request number 1516-11 in the amount of $4,700 for the purchase of additional IT consultant hours. Do you want to speak to that?
Certainly. We had a unanticipated server failure in our IT department for the town. We have a virtual server environment where our data is replicated, so we didn't lose data, and the server is under warranty, so we didn't have to pay for the new server. It's just we had hours that were required to bring back up the data, transfer it over, and reconnect all
Was that when everybody lost email?
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly. Yeah,
Yeah, it went on a while. It was quite
It was
a
about
couple days, 2-3 days.
no, not quite that long.
Okay.
It seems like that long. We
Yeah.
don't have email.
They have to restore it, then reload
Correct.
it. then-
Right.
But you didn't lose anything.
Yeah. No, we have
That's
multiple
great.
backups at multiple
That's really good.
locations. And
Not at anyone's home or anything.
no, we have them all secured and
Good.
temperature controlled and all that stuff. But
Good.
there was just some time involved in
Right.
setting it up. Yeah.
Good.
And that money would come from contingency.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is there a second to it?
Second.
Thank you. Any questions or discussion? Not all those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Okay, we're now on the bid award. Can you explain this? Tom?
Sure. We have a bid that we opened for street sweeping, and this year we only had 2 bidders. Some years we have 6 bidders. Some years we have 4. This year we had 2. You can see how close the bids were. And we used CRS Landscape and Excavation last year. They were also the low bidder. And so that's what we're recommending this year for $226 per mile with a 5% discount.
I know I ask every year, how many miles do we have, do you know?
I don't know that off the
Okay,
top of my
never
head.
mind.
70 maybe?
I don't remember.
You'll find out next year.
I know.
I want to say it's in the 70s.
It's just interesting, little tidbits.
70 miles?
Oh,
Is that right?
77
How many?
miles or something, yeah.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Tell us she
Okay.
was doing little
Yeah.
less than 5% a year at 3.5
Should've called you
miles.
this
I know we have
afternoon and said-
135 hydrants that I didn't know about before, so I can tell you
I
that.
just want to kind of learn something new every day, you know.
Accept this
Yeah,
bid
yes.
Interesting.
by CRS Landscape and Excavation for the street sweeping services.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Any other questions or discussion? Not all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Okay, the next item is locking into electricity rates.
So our current electricity contract expires in December of next year. However, the rates, as you could probably imagine, are pretty low at the moment, largely due to several factors, but including the price of oil and natural gas. So basically, when we contract for just for generation for electricity, the town of Woodbridge, the Amity Board of Education, and the Beecher School all combine our loads, and we then go out to bid. So that's what we did last time, and our current price is 0.0997 cents for generation. So our thought this time around was we could wait and go out to bid closer to the time period, which is December, or we can lock in rates with our current vendor based on our current rates through negotiation process.
Do we do this as a consortium
It's
with
a
Amity
correct.
and
Yeah.
Beecher and who
Yeah,
else?
Beecher and us,
And Amity.
and yeah, the three of us. Yeah.
Okay.
We used to do it with Orange, but that was years back.
Right.
And so each entity gets authority to lock into the rates, and then we all come together and lock them in at the same time.
And it's a magical moment.
That is.
Right.
What's your
So currently,
thought?
currently the new rates would be about 0.08, roughly.
So it's a
So
little
we
less
save
than what we're
a
doing
little
now.
less than 2 cents on our rate, and that equates to about $20,000 for us, a lot more for Amity, and about the same for Beecher. It's a little trickier at Beecher because Beecher has the solar and also the which is directly generates power to school, and the turbine, microturbine. Yeah,
Well, certainly, if Amity benefits, we benefit also.
we do.
So that's
Yeah,
good.
they so
So if we don't lock in now, what's the alternative?
we'll just wait until our contracts are close to expiration, and then we'll just test the market at that point,
Or renegotiate with these folks?
or renegotiate with these folks. So the question
But
is,
they're willing to renegotiate right now?
correct for the future.
For how long?
For how long, yeah.
We would probably do it for, typically we do it for 3 years. Sometimes we do it for 2 years. It's also all depends where the rates come in and what's most beneficial to lock in
So
future
we're
rates.
paying what now?
9.97 cents.
Okay. And we have until end of December 17 on our contract?
16.
16.
Yeah.
So we have to the end of this year on our contract, but the provider is willing to negotiate for us to pay less.
That's
Not
fixed.
until our current contract
Starting
expires.
with-
Okay,
That's the part that you missed.
I didn't miss
Yeah.
that part.
Yeah,
'Cause
yeah.
I was saying, I think.
They're not going to renegotiate the price we have now,
I got
but
it.
they'll renegotiate.
So we're just pre-negotiating.
Correct,
Okay.
because of where the rates are at the moment.
Right.
It's
So we're just playing the rates. I mean, we could wait.
You
It could be
could.
lower. Okay. I
that's
got
fine
it.
with me. I mean, you want to wait? We could wait and
No,
see where they
that's
go.
it. I just wanted to.
Yeah.
So, Tony,
That's
I
good.
remember doing
Good
this
point.
when I was on the Amity board. I remember doing it on the Beecher board. I've done it on this board. I would follow your
Yeah.
Your
advice on
advice.
this.
What do you
I mean, what
think?
do I know? But historically, do you think we've saved money over
Yes,
time?
we
Is
have.
there
I have that.
historical data on that?
I do have that actually. And
Good question.
if you compare the rate, this is for the past year, versus the utility rate. So, because the utility rate fluctuates, right? The town has saved, this is in the past year, about $10,000. School, $16,000, and Amity, $82,000.
So I'm going to trust
Yeah.
your judgment on this.
Yeah.
I think that you know what the hell you're doing.
Yeah.
So that's the sort of the idea, and it's a
I hope so.
so the cumulative rate is a little over
We trust
$100,000.
Tony on much bigger things than this.
That's what I
And the other added benefit is that we have a stable, predictable
Right.
rate for our
So it's
electricity.
easier to budget.
So it's
and
easier to budget, it's easier to plan, all that
Makes a
sort of
big
thing.
difference.
Okay.
So I'll make a motion to authorize the first selectman to lock in electricity rates in accordance with what Tony just presented
Second.
to us.
Any other questions or discussion? Not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, the next item is authorizing the town to participate in a consolidated application for elderly and disabled demand responsive municipal grant program and through Greater New Haven Transit District.
This is a state grant that we receive every year that we essentially allow the Greater New Haven Transit District to use as part of their regional rides program, and then we have access to that program.
And Mary Ellen.
I'm sure you're familiar. And
So
Mary
we
Ellen is
sound
talking
about
recommending.
it
Yeah.
all the time. Yeah.
And Mary Ellen is recommending this.
So is there a motion to authorize as described here?
So moved.
Second.
Any other questions or discussion?
No.
If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Oh, okay. Anything else?
I have an other, yes.
Okay.
Uh-oh.
The estimates book comes out every year for municipal statistics. And in that, this was for fiscal year 2014. They're typically a little behind when they gather all the statistics. But it's on the website, OPM website, and it's a good spot to go to sort of get an idea of how we compare with different statistics. The one that I thought was quite surprising, but in a good way, was the tax collection rate. And aside from Torrington, which they contract their entire list out to a outside firm. So theirs is 100%, but they contract the whole thing out. So there's fees. There's fees.
Yeah,
Correct.
discounted.
Correct.
Yep.
The
in their interest.
top rate, Woodridge was tied for second at 99.6.
Wow.
All right.
So there were 3 tied for first at 99.8. Bridgewater, Cheshire, and Avon. And then Woodbridge was tied for second with Farmington, Simsbury, New Canaan, and Woodbridge.
Excellent. That's great.
So I just thought that was
Kudos
some
to
good
the
information.
Office of the Tax Collector, for sure.
Absolutely. Thank you.
That
Very nice.
definitely shows our
That's a good other.
ability to pay.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's a very good other.
That's an interesting.
But if you go online, you
Yeah.
can see all different stuff.
We have access to that?
Yeah, it's right on their
Really?
OPM website, and
OPM,
it's
okay, thanks.
under. I think it's called Municipal Estimates Book,
Okay.
and it just shows all kinds of stuff.
Thanks.
With the new website, it will be so easy to
Yeah.
find. Anything
I
else?
still might
No,
need
that's it.
help.
Thank you. Betsy.
I've got 2 quick updates. One is I'm excited to report that our email newsletter list now has 972 recipients.
It's great, Betsy.
So
It's
I'm
amazing.
excited about that.
And it's been about a year, maybe? Not even?
No, I don't know. It's been longer than that, but I don't remember
Oh.
how long it's been.
Okay.
So I'm pushing for 1,000. And the other item is, as you noticed in Justin's presentation, the website designs are heavily reliant on photos now. So I'm asking people to submit photos of the town to me for use in our new website, on our Facebook page, in the quarterly events magazine, and other outlets that we may have. I've already had some people submit photos, and it's been really fun to see what people are submitting. So I'm encouraging people to continue sending photos to me, please.
And with the understanding that they will be used publicly.
Exactly,
which-
yes.
No selfies.
Preferably not.
It depends.
You could try.
Any questions for Betsy, or anything else?
Thanks, Betsy.
Thank you very much. Okay, Town Council's report.
So hopefully we'll be quick. We have 2 items on the agenda that were requests from homeowners, from landowners, to abandon 2 pieces of property. One is 27 Laurel Road, and the other one is a paper road, which is known as Goodrich Terrace, which is in the Hazel Terrace area. So we can address the first one. The first one is 27 Laurel Road, and we have a request, and it's in your packet, that's dated January 9th, 2016, from 2 abutting landowners, Liz Shemitz-Smith and Udo Schwartz. I received a call from Mr. Schwartz several months ago indicating that he had discussions with the building department, specifically Chris Sullivan, about abandoning a road that runs between his property and his neighbor's property, who is Liz Shemitz-Smith. And if you see the map, first you see the letter from the 2 landowners dated January 9th, and if you turn the page, you'll see a map. And it looks like it's the relevant area is Lot 7 and Lot 11, and then there's this little easement for future highway purposes, so that you can see it. That little strip right there, yes, Maria. So, and I think this was this began as one of the homeowners, I think Mr. Schwartz, was having some work or some addition built on his house, and they thought that there would be a possibility, and after discussions with the building department, that the town would abandon that strip. Once the strip is abandoned by the Board of Selectmen in any particular town, each abutting landowner owns to the middle. And the statutes, Connecticut Statute 13A-49 empowers the town selectmen to actually abandon property. So we have done this in the past when there are situations where we have paper roads that no one anticipates any future use for the roads. And what it does is that when the homeowners or landowners get owned to the middle, they put the property back on the tax roll. So it is a productive piece of property, which is what would happen here. and you see a memo in the file from Chris Sullivan, where the building department recommends that it be abandoned. And there was one other consent that I had to obtain, because if you look at the property, now, how do I do this? I don't know whether this is north or south, but right at the, not where the circle is. So you follow that little strip, and there's a line where it ends, and the property that is beyond it is a word that says fence. You see that? So that property that is adjacent to the end of the little strip of road is owned by the water company. So I thought it prudent, before we did anything, to obtain the consent of the water company and see whether they were interested in doing it or not. And if they weren't, we have a practice here in Woodbridge that we don't do it unless all abutting property owners agree for whatever reason. But the water company did send Chris Sullivan an email this afternoon indicating that it has no objection to the abandonment or discontinuation of the end of Laurel Road. So we have consents from everyone. And the law says that once the Board of Selectmen agrees to abandon it by a majority vote, then it must be approved by either a special town meeting or a regular town meeting of the town. We usually try and put this on the call of the meeting for the annual meeting, so as we don't have to have a special town meeting and have the expense, and we just tag it along to the annual meeting, and it is generally approved. So that would be my recommendation. The only thing that has not happened in this situation, whenever we abandon the property, we make the 8-24 referral to the Planning and Zoning Commission. That has not happened, even though Chris has done an exhaustive study and had discussions with the homeowners. It was not formally approved like P&Z, and we do that, we require that to be done. So talking to Chris, we thought that it would be a prudent recommendation to the board, if the board chooses to approve the abandonment, notify the homeowner, subject to the P&Z giving us a positive 8-24 review indicating that they have no objection to it. So that would be my and keep in mind, there's a little bit time constraints here, because if we wanted to get on the annual meeting in May, there's publications that we have to take care of by getting it in we have to get it on the call of the annual meeting, which is going to be coming up pretty quickly. So we want to make sure we get it in time for this year's annual meeting.
Does planning and zoning have enough time in terms of if we do what we have
Well,
to do
planning and
tonight?
zoning has a meeting.
It goes to them.
Right.
They have a special
They have a
meeting
special
on the
meeting.
21st.
March 21st,
Okay.
and we're going to try and I've talked to Chris about getting it on that agenda.
Got
So
it.
she said that she's
And
going
then
to.
our meeting is in May? May?
Yes, the annual
May,
meeting is in
okay,
May.
okay.
Right.
And it's early this year.
Yeah.
The third Monday of May is early. It's
Huh.
usually down somewhere around the 21st,
Yeah.
22nd.
Huh.
And even if you can't get on their special meeting, their regular meeting is
would probably
April
have enough
1st,
time.
so it's one of the first days of April,
Yeah, yeah.
first Monday, so.
Okay.
Right.
So, is there a motion to authorize the placing of the abandonment of 27 Laurel Road on the call of the annual town meeting, subject to 824 approval by planning and zoning? Is there a second? Is that the right motion? I think I
That's the
covered
right
everything.
motion, yeah.
Okay. Any other questions or discussion?
I'll just point out the third Monday in May is May 16th.
Okay, so we have
Thank
plenty
you.
of time.
It is
We have
early.
plenty of time.
Nothing else? All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
So, and then the second piece of property, and I'm going to leave this to the board, the second piece of property is adjacent, now, I don't even think you have this because this came up at the last minute, so I'm going to pass it around. It is being made at the request of Karen Lombardi, who is the town's ACO. She apparently owns some property right on Hazel Terrace, and there are several pieces of property that surround these pieces that the town many, many years ago abandoned. This is even before my time, even probably before I was even living here. They thought that they had abandoned this Goodrich Terrace strip that you can see, I'll show you on the map, but apparently it was never formally abandoned through the process. But during the past many, many years, the town has acted as if it has been abandoned, and we have been collecting taxes from the adjoining property owners on this strip. So this is really a technical item to get it officially abandoned. I think there's a purchaser for one of the parcels here. The thing we don't have is we really don't have a petition. All I have is this map, and I had an extensive discussion with Betsy Quist, who is aware of it. And I talked to Karen Lombardi before she left on vacation last week, and I think she's been out all last week and this week, and I told her she needed to get the consents of the abutting landowners. I think she just got back, or maybe he's not even back. She hasn't given me the consents yet. The bottom line is, whatever your play, you can act on this subject to conditions of getting the approvals and subject to conditions of the 8-24, or we can bring this back to you at the next meeting with a more formal petition. I don't even have a written petition, which you need under the statute.
So the disadvantage of waiting is that it's unlikely to be on the.
Well, I think we might make it. When is the meeting, the next Board of Selectmen meeting?
No, the annual meeting is the 16th, the next Board of Selectmen meeting is April.
Second Wednesday is,
Thank you.
is the 13th.
So
13th.
you'll have enough time, if the board does it on the 13th, will you have enough time to get it on the call for the annual meeting?
I will, but
Okay.
we won't have enough time for it to go to town plan and zoning for any 24.
Couldn't we ask?
Can we
We
refer
can
it
do
now
this,
to
we can do the
the
8-24 now. That's a good idea.
And then
Okay.
have.
Why don't we do
Right,
that?
okay,
Okay,
perfect.
so is there a motion to refer the abandonment of Goodrich Terrace, the paper road, to plan and zoning under
So moved.
section 8-24? Thank you. Any other questions or discussion? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Jerry.
Okay, so that's that. Then the last thing we have is something that's been on the agenda for the last, I don't know how long. We gotta get rid of this, I'm sick of going over this thing, but this has been a very time-consuming project. Both Ellen and I and the fire chief has been involved, and the police chief has been involved. The town has historically been a member of what was known as CMed. I don't know if any of you are familiar with CMed. CMed provided services to the town and the region, all the towns in the region, which had to do with emergency. So they provide 3 different services. They provide a patch between, and say somebody is going to the hospital, there's a call, and an ambulance is called to someone's address. The person is placed in the ambulance. It is very is important in some situations for the people in the ambulance to have contact with the people in the emergency room at the hospital, either a doctor, the nurse, to say either we're on our way, this is what the injuries are, this is what the ailment is, and we need X, Y, and Z, and also to get advice from doctors as to what they should be doing. So they provide that service, that's number one. They also provide what is known as mutual aid, that in the event Woodbridge needs an ambulance, we have EMS, or emergency medical service, which will respond and then call an ambulance, have an ambulance come in. If there is an eventuality where there is insufficient ambulances in the area, CMed would coordinate sending ambulance services to Woodbridge for that particular task, and they would get somebody here. That's the second thing they do. Then they also provide what they call mutual disaster kind of responses, where if there is a large fire, for example, and we need the aid of some other fire departments from other towns, some other police departments from other towns, CMed would coordinate that service. For those services, the town historically paid in the area of $20,000, I think, right? That was the number.
That's right, yeah, it's a little, about there, yeah.
CMed was having all kinds of financial problems and disbanded about 9 months ago. It's out of business, and there was major issues with their operation. So the area towns that were for the most part, members of CMed got together and formed a new entity called MedCom, which is taking over the services of CMed and doing those 3 services, which the state requires us to have somebody do those services. And we're told that 169 towns, 169, including Woodbridge, have some kind of CMed MedCom service to do these 3 things. So there were some questions raised by the fire department, there's some questions raised by the police department. All those questions have been answered. We talked to MedCom and to AMR, who was actually our EMS provider, who is also doing the services for MedCom. And we've gotten everything straight. We have an agreement. The agreement, we had some problems with the agreement. The agreement that was first distributed, that we're about to sign, is not going to be the final agreement. All the towns have agreed to sign it. There are some issues in it that we want to change. I've been talking to the lawyer for the town of West Haven, who is basically in charge of coordinating this, and we all agree that we're going to make these changes between now and July 1, when this agreement will expire. So we all feel comfortable now, even though it's not exactly what we want for the next few months, since many of the towns have already signed this. We're all going to sign it and get this thing program underway. The big benefit to the town in the changeover is that our costs go from 20-some-odd thousand dollars a year to $6,800. The document that you have in front of you shows Woodbridge's cost at $6,330. But that's a draft, and the revised agreement has some different expenses in it, and our actual costs will be $6,800.50. So it's significantly cheaper than what we've been paying all these years, and we should be getting the same service. And this is a regional cooperative kind of organization, and we will be part of the region. And you see in the agreement what towns are participating.
And the price portion of this interim agreement is not likely to change after July 1st.
Not likely to change, yes.
How long
This
will it be
agreement, our cost is subsidized by the state. The state pays money for this kind of, subsidizes the cost for this service. So in that chart, there's a subsidy, state subsidy as well.
And it's I believe it's a per capita assessment.
Right.
So
Based on our
smaller
population.
towns. And just to clarify, Jerry mentioned AMR is contracting with MedCom to provide the service. So our relationship with AMR as a town ambulance provider is totally separate from that. It wouldn't have to be AMR, it just happens to be AMR. So
Right.
they're totally separate relationships and roles of AMR.
But do we still keep AMR?
Yes.
Oh, yes, we still have our own ambulance service and our agreement with AMR. It just happened that they
Also
We're-
belong to that thing.
were
to this
contracted with MedCom to provide the patch service and other
I
services.
just have a question, because I just didn't understand that. I apologize. The 6,800 is the whole year up through July 1? When did it start and when does it finish?
It's an annual
It's
cost.
It's a fiscal
Annual.
year cost.
Right.
Okay, so we've been paying already?
We haven't
Haven't
paid
paid
yet.
anything
We haven't paid anything?
Right.
Oh, okay.
Not yet.
So we're gonna owe 6,800, even though we're only doing 4 months, or?
Well, the interesting thing is today Ellen attended
Sorry.
a meeting and
Yes.
received a
Yeah, we got a refund
rebate.
check
We got a refund check.
from the prior entity.
CMed.
So,
CMed.
right, so 4,000. I gave it to
4,500.
Tony.
Yeah.
Just want you to know Tony has it.
But just to clarify,
Was it right now?
just to clarify, we've actually been using the services of MedCom since July, right?
July,
July
exactly.
1.
Oh,
Right.
We just haven't paid for them yet.
Got it.
Right.
So we sort of
Yeah.
do owe 6,800-ish.
Right.
Yeah,
Good
but we
question.
did get
But we got $4,000, so-
yes.
Right.
Okay, thank you. I just want, I didn't understand. Okay,
Yeah,
thank
that's
you.
good. Good
Thanks,
question.
thanks.
So is there a motion to authorize the first selectman to sign the agreement with MedCom?
Would that
So-
be Ellen Scarpetta?
Does it still say that?
This says.
They were
No,
supposed to have
no,
changed it. I
the
believe
new one,
they
the new one,
changed it.
the new one, I think, the new one has been changed.
They-
I just want to be clear.
Will you make the motion?
So much.
Is there a second? Any other questions or discussion? If not, all those in favor? Aye. Thank you.
Not authorizing Ellen Scarpetta.
I will move acknowledgement of receipt of the town clerk's report. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any questions or discussion? If not, all those in favor? Aye. Thank you. Item 12, we have one set of minutes, and that is the special joint Board of Finance, Board of Selectmen meeting of December 1st, 2015. Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Any questions or discussion?
These are so pithy. How would we know if the numbers are right? I mean, it's great.
Anything else? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
You let us down, Ben.
Huh?
You let us down. You're the only one.
I'm not gonna
Those
check
lucky
12
people.
pages of numbers. I'm gonna trust Karen that she did it right. My goodness.
We have a vacancy on the Conservation Commission, and we have a nominee for that position. Yeah, do you have?
Sure, I'd like to nominate Dr. Tracy Cipriano. Her CV is in your packets. She has a very impressive CV. She has a PhD in clinical psychology from UConn, is also a graduate of UConn School of Law, and she has a private psychology practice within Woodbridge. I think she brings a valued and necessary enthusiasm to the Conservation Commission. She's a hiking enthusiast with a great appreciation for the trail system that's quite extensive within our town. I called her up and I said, why would you like to be on this commission? And she said, she feels that, quote, Woodbridge's small town atmosphere, trail system, and undeveloped spaces are valuable town resources. She also believes it's important to continue to protect the town's natural resources and wildlife population. I'd like to assist, this is she's still speaking, She'd like to assist the town as it continues to work toward finding balance between important development and protecting open space. And I'm pleased and honored to nominate Tracy for this
Thank you.
position.
Is there a second?
I'm happy to second this nomination.
Thank you. Any other nominees for this position?
Well, on our side, we would like to nominate Martha German for a seat on the Conservation Commission. Martha has many relevant qualifications for the job. She is a lifelong resident of Woodbridge and has been a champion of open space for the town. She graduated from Wells College and works as a professional calligrapher and graphic designer. She has served on the boards of Friends of Woodbridge Library, and she was once a president of the organization in 1980, the Peabody Museum Associates, and the Connecticut League of Historical Societies. Currently, her volunteer positions include serving as a secretary of the Amity Historical Society. She has been a member of that. She had been a president of that in the 1980s and also has been with the organization for 30 years. And the other organization is the East Side Cemetery, where she is now a secretary and has belonged to that organization for 10 years. Martha has a long history of town involvement and dedicated service to Woodbridge. I would call her an environmental activist interested in the preservation of open space, proper use of land, and the preservation of all our natural resources. She is she's always involved in promoting the rural quality of life in Woodbridge. Having said that,
I'll second that nomination.
Thank you. Thank you. We'll take a vote on Tracy Cipriano. All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? Okay, so it's a tie, and I will exercise the first selectman's prerogative and cast an additional vote for Tracy Cipriano. The position is now filled. Thank you. Next is first selectman's report. First, I wanted to say a little bit about the police department staffing issue. It's something that we've been talking about for a while, and I know when Chief Stewart was here, I asked him about the report, which we had asked for some time ago, and he said that the data wasn't matching up with the system that the organization that was doing the report needed. So I have been in discussions with the chairman of the commission because we've been asking for this information. Rob Burke is the new chair, and he has assured me that reviewing the staffing, both numbers and deployment, is a priority for the current police commission. They will be looking at that and will ask that it be on the short-term list for the new chief, once the new chief is hired. He pointed out also that there are problems with the study that we had asked for because of incompatible data formats. So they're still looking into it, but it may not work out in that way, but they're definitely looking at the staffing issue and know that the Board of Selectmen is very eager to hear from them about it. On the economic development side, Betsy and I met with Bob Santee and someone else from CERC to follow up on the multi-board meeting that we had about economic development. They had some interesting ideas, and they'll be getting back to us with a proposal. We had our first business cluster meeting that was real estate and commercial property owners, and it was successful. We had a nice conversation, and some ideas came up from the participants. Betsy and I visited a new business called The Spice is Right on Selden Place. It's where 911 had been before, new sandwich restaurant. We also visited Coachman Square, which is a very lively environment for seniors. I had an amazing tour by a 90-year-old resident who loves it there. She was quite the tour guide. She was in real estate at some point, and you could tell from how she pointed out the various elements. And the South Central Connecticut Regional Council of Governments is looking at some economic development grants, and we're participating in determining how those grants should be used, and Betsy's been attending some of those meetings, as have I. The March Person of the Month is Elaine Marcuccio, who has been the senior center chef for 5 years, but has decided to pursue other professional interests. But she is another one of our Woodbridge people, and this time an employee who goes above and beyond her job description. In her time off, she often bakes cookies or breads and table decorations for the seniors who will miss her very much. She's offered to stay on as a guide to the new person, so she well deserved the recognition. Many of us here participated in Wear Red for Women Day that the Human Services Department organizes to raise money and awareness for women's heart health. We've also been meeting with first responders about use of the Everbridge system to alert town employees, schools, and daycare centers in the case of an emergency. We're working on new procedures to be sure everybody knows what they are and how they work, and we'll be following up on that with our town employees and the schools and daycare centers. I met with the Beecher Board of Education consultant who's doing the search for the new superintendent. I was very impressed. I think she had a good idea of our town and our school and what we'd be looking for. I hope so, and that's continuing. As Dr. Stella mentioned, Beth and Tony and I, and both Tonys, participated in Read Across America at Beecher Road School, which was a lot of fun. It's mostly Dr. Seuss books and, of course, adorable children. Beth and I attended the Volunteer Fire Department Snowflake Dance, which was very well attended and a very lively event, as you can imagine. And I've also...
We didn't dance together, we brought our husbands.
We did. We did.
Just so that's
Oh,
clear.
and Jerry was there.
We're not dating.
Jerry was there as well.
Right, that's right, yeah.
It's acceptable if you want.
True.
Yep.
Gender non-specific.
I just didn't want my husband to know. He was
Betsy and I met with Adam Parsons to begin discussions about the first steps to implement the best organic practices recommendations that Louisa Cunningham was here to tell us about. Adam has some very good ideas how we can get started in a way that's not too expensive, and it may include having residents help us with some tree clearing. We have a resident here tonight who I know is very interested in that, and we'll be pursuing that. And I did want to mention that tomorrow, the state legislature, the Energy and Environment Committee, will be hearing a bill that would expand the virtual net metering cap. And that's something that's very important to us so that we can proceed with the solar array at the cap landfill. And I have submitted testimony on behalf of the town to encourage the legislature to expand the cap for our municipality. Susan mentioned the Next Wisdom of Woodbridge lecture. It's Yaron Baich, who is of course, Woodbridge resident, and is co-founder of a company here in town called Author, a high-tech company. And his topic is Hacked, Keeping Your Identity Safe in the Information Age. I think people will be very interested in this. Let me just say, it's March 22nd, 7 p.m. at the JCC, so I encourage people to attend. Susan?
I was just going to follow up and say he's also a member of the Economic Development Commission.
Yes.
So they're really trying to get the business community, small businesses, larger businesses to be a part of that. It's obviously a very relevant topic.
Thank you. And while you're speaking,
you want me to keep going?
Keep going. Liaison reports.
We pretty much already talked about economic development. The only other thing I'll say is that they have a business after hours scheduled for March 29th. I'm not exactly sure where. Maybe somebody else knows.
It's at the brewery.
Oh, that's right. It's at the brewery. Okay, so behind the car dealership.
March 29th.
She's writing that down. That's all I have on that, and my only other report is the police commission. They changed the order of their meeting so that the traffic authority came first because there were members of the public involved. They're still talking about Hazel Terrace and parking issue there, and the resolution of that traffic authority meeting was to ask the fire chief, who happened to be at the meeting for another reason, to check out during peak hours to evaluate the safety issue about getting emergency equipment up that street. Peak hours being the peak hours used by the dance studio and its clientele. They also gave permission for the Smilo Cancer Hospital Closer to Free Ride, which is going to take place on Saturday, September 10th, 2016. That's a bike ride that raises money for cancer. And they also talked about the fact that they're going to do a traffic light upgrade at Rimmen and Johnson. Mm-hmm. Then they convened the police commission meeting. Obviously, the big issue there is that they're still doing their search for the chief. There is a discussion about fire dispatch protocol. And I guess they're looking into how best to handle that. There's some concern about whether or not the fire department is being alerted. I wouldn't say the issue is timeliness so much as it is who goes where when. And that's being discussed, and there was no resolution at that meeting.
I'll just add
Do you have something to add to that?
The police and fire chiefs and the chairs of both commissions are all working together to
Correct.
come up with a prompt resolution of that problem.
And they're meeting again on the 14th to continue, April 14th to continue their interview process. That's a special meeting, and I suspect most of it will be an executive session.
Thank you.
That's it.
Beth?
I attended the February 17th Inland Wetlands Agency meeting, and it was 15 minutes. It was wonderful. Bob Blythe said it was the shortest meeting ever. They just received a few applications, and they couldn't act on them, so we were in and out of there in 15 minutes. They're meeting again on, I think, Wednesday, March 23rd, so I'll go to that. Fire Commission meeting on February 22nd was... they didn't have a quorum, so it's been rescheduled for this coming Monday, the 21st, 2 weeks from this past Monday. I did get to Human Services a couple nights ago, and they have hired a new, I guess it's a chef, and his name is Richard Inzero. He's the kitchen supervisor, and Karen Chartoff, who's a Woodbridge resident, I don't know if anyone knows her, as the assistant. And I guess Richard decided, as part of his interview, to cook for everybody, and he brought food.
That's great.
What a way to win!
It's a good interview.
And they had a lot of applicants, and they were quite impressed with him. They're very excited about him. They also reviewed and revised the senior center director's job description. It's now not a secret. Lee Canning, I guess, is retiring in June.
June, yeah, end of June, 20th.
So the commission was sort of it was on the agenda, and everybody was wondering why are we reviewing this, and then it was brought up that evening. So she's been here something like over 35 years.
Yeah.
So she's taking a cruise, and she's all excited. It's wonderful.
The one thing you can't say filling big shoes because Lee is so small.
I know,
Right?
I know. I know. And then she gave a quick update on upcoming senior programs. It'll be in the minutes. I'm not going to go on here. The first Selectmen's Youth Award nominations are being sought, and the volunteer tea for that presentation is April 28th. That career readiness program is about to begin at the high school. We talked about that in the past. I've updated you guys on that. And the Greater New Haven Heart Walk is on May 7th at 10 o'clock at Savin Rock, if anybody's interested. It's kind of a good thing to do. And their next meeting is Monday, April 4th. And should I talk about the $3,100 with the...
Sure.
The Woodbridge, I guess, the energy program that we ran for a year or so. I guess you probably know better than I do, Betsy, but it was announced Monday night at the Human Services meeting that we hit all the money. What was it? A $25 donation every single time somebody signed up for a program was going to Woodbridge.
Yeah, every time a resident did a home energy audit, 25 of the $99 fee
Right.
it will be going towards the food and fuel fund.
Well, apparently they raised $3,100, so that's going to be donated to Woodbridge Food and Fuel Fund, which is they were very excited about that. So thank you to everyone who participated in that. I gave my 25. That's it. Thank you.
Thanks. Tony?
Okay. I'll start with the Library Commission. Last month, believe it or not, there was a snow day where they had to cancel a meeting. They did have a special meeting on February 11th, which was basically just to talk about, I could not make the meeting, and we had a different meeting here. And it was to talk about the library adult, there's a young adult librarian position that has been is in the process of being changed, and so there was a discussion over an applicant, and that basically was their meeting, and then they voted and passed unanimously to hire Faith Miller as library assistant at that time. So we'll hear more about that. Their next meeting is next Monday, March the 14th, a regularly scheduled meeting. The other commission just met the other night. Town Plan and Zoning met on Monday night. It was a very long meeting here in this room. There were really two issues. There was one guest as well, Leslie Crean, who has been working with them to give them some ideas and suggestions. She worked with Hamden and doing their planning in other places. So she did come at one point and had a discussion with them. The other two larger time-consuming issues were one which involved us going hand in hand with what Susan talked about, the dance studio down on Hazel Terrace, which there's been some issues over the last few months regarding the residents there and parking and traffic flow, and that's why they're in front of the police commission. They're also in front of town plan and zoning because, I don't know, maybe a year or two ago, this dance studio was given a change of use permit on a property, and they came this month and last week to ask for an expanded permit, a little bit more expanded times, a little bit of different. So there were residents as well. There were pros and people who came to speak for. The owner of the property came, as well as the dance studio owners, and residents from that street came to speak against. It was a little contentious, and in the end, during the work session, the permit was granted so that they will be able to expand their hours. There was some comments made that maybe they can work their differences out with their neighbors. I think the police commission is working out some of the differences as well, as far as parking and traffic. The other issue was Rosalie Rowland was on the agenda to speak, to ask what the update was with Luciani Street. As we all know, 110 Luciani Street has been an ongoing issue for the town plan and zoning. It was a property that was given a permit to build on, and then the builder ran out of time on his permit eventually and came back for a new permit, at which time he wanted to make some changes, including some blasting. It was not granted by town plan and zoning a few months ago. It was denied. So the property has been left in a state that the neighbors are not very happy about. They feel there's a safety concern. Town plan and zoning took up some of that issue and talked about it, and talked about how town council was involved as far as there were some bonding questions on what they had behind. So that is basically to be continued. And that's really it.
Thank you.
Okay. The Board of Ed and the Recreation Commission had a meeting on the same night, so I chose the Recreation Commission because I knew that there was going to be some issues that were important to the town, and basically that meeting was involved deep and heavy discussion on their changes in their budget proposal. They were very pleased with the increase of salary for Mr. Adamovich, but the other thing was how to understand, or I guess how to accept this announcement that the pool membership would be free for the pool, and a long and deep discussion ensued, and basically they were against the having the pool free because of many issues like increased parking, burden on administration, like they might need more pool guards, etc., the increased expense of supplies, and last but not least, what the impact would be on the pool as far as its physical capacity is concerned. Well, you all know what has happened since then. We had a special meeting, and I was thankful to Tony that he had, explained the different ramifications of these pool rates. They in the end decided that they would have a reduced rate for membership, and everybody was pleased about that because at least they may meet expenses, but their major goal is to increase membership, and so that's what they decided, and we agreed to that. And now my question is, have they been allowed to advertise so that they can start?
They've started, yeah.
Yes.
Okay, excellent. Thank you so much. That's all I need to say.
Thank you.
Welcome.
I was not able to make the Conservation Committee meeting. In fact, I wasn't able to make the Country Club of Woodbridge meeting, but I do have information because I was provided. So I can give you some updates, and that was the February 22nd meeting. And revenues are up from last year, over 100,000. Golf revenues by 50K. Total revenues 136K over the prior year. Total rounds up a little over 4,000, and the check back to the town was a little over 50,000 according to this information. The key there is a check back to the town, because I don't want people to think that's, we paid them.
way-
Right.
well more
Way-
than
well
that,
more
right.
than that, and so just to be clear on that, but they did give us a check back based on our agreement with them.
Joe, can you just tell me again what you said, the increase in rounds? Because I had these numbers that we got.
Okay.
Yeah.
So are you getting that from Casper or from
This is
other
from,
sources?
this is from Casper.
Yeah.
This is
Just
from,
wanna know.
This is from Casper. 4.2. It says grew rounds
Oh, that's
in
about right, yes. Yep, that's what I
4.2K.
had. Yep,
4.
Thank you.
4,200.
yep.
Okay. They do, they do a lot of outings. So they reported that they generated over 150,000 for charities last year. They hosted the Amity golf team, and they donated a $1,000 scholarship to an Amity High School student. I don't know if that's a golfer or not. It just says a student. 26,000 comp rounds for charity. So in connection with those outings, they give 26,000
Wow.
comp rounds. Just under 3,000 resident rounds, or 11% of the total rounds for Woodbridge residents, and 800 residents. It says they use the. So I think that ties into what you had said. And projections for 2016 this year, 4K up in golf revenues for January, 200,000 booked in outing revenue alone already, according to their projected bookings, 234,000 of all of last year. 193,000 booked in memberships for 2016, 263,000 for all of 2015. Completed bunker renovations, the tree removal, we knew about, that's done. And that's pretty much it.
Thank you.
So.
And I just wanted to mention, I was not able to attend the Amity Board of Education. It was canceled due to the weather and rescheduled at a time that I couldn't attend. And with that, is there a motion to adjourn?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Thank you, everyone.
All right.
Thank you.
3 hours.
Thanks for all your hard work.
Thank you for staying.